This is Brother Ron, and welcome to We All Be News Radio and TV, the news-free Dixie for the 21st century.
Hello, Judge.
Yes, sir.
All right. We all be is under have on once again the Honorable Judge Joe Brown. In the words of Duke Ellington, he is truly beyond category, a true people's champion, and grassroots advocate for common sense. How you doing today, sir?
I'm fine, young brother. How are you?
I'm good, man. It's a bad world. I keep on thinking about what you say, bread and circuses, man. It's like on steroids. What's going on right now?
Yeah. And the bad part about it is when the news media becomes part of the circus act, this 24/7 news format is bad for the country because there's not that much news, and they try to turn it around into entertainment, which is the whole purpose. And have you ever heard of this genre of book or movie called historical fiction?
Yes, sir.
It's set in a time and place that actually existed, but it's fiction. It's just based on reality. And that's what the news media is about these days. It's fiction based on reality, historic fiction, short term. Very little to do with accuracy, but a whole lot to do with what is most entertaining. And then the news format is set up so that there is a bonus for it being made most entertaining. And as with any one thing, if you're trying to convey facts, you have options as to how you characterize those facts, and they usually take the most entertaining option. And by that I don't mean, oh wow, we whoopee type stuff somebody might have looking at a comedy movie or a sitcom, but in terms of drama, tragedy, or whatever, they want to play it for all it's worth. That's like Oprah. You know, when you get an Oprah thing, her thing for all the time she's been on is to generate this catharsis in our audience where everybody gets a good cry. The girls get to cry. They like to go to movies and do this stuff. I think it's tedious, but they like to cry. So it's that kind of thing. And we've got some bad points out there. We were talking earlier, and I think we need to touch on that right off the bat. This thing with Rosie O'Donnell.
Oh, Roseanne Barr?
Right? Yeah, not Rosie O'Donnell, Roseanne.
They almost the same. I can see how you get them confused, though. I can see that.
They kind of look alike.
Right.
Roseanne Barr, you know, I'm going to compare it to something. They are all up in arms, or they're trying to make a big thing out of this white woman that claimed she was black and got in trouble for welfare fraud, I think it was.
Yeah, Richard Dozal.
An NAACP chapter president. Well, to tell you the truth, the pictures of her look much more like a black woman than this person I was surprised to discover was a black woman. I mean, you know, we come in all shades and configurations, and part of that's because they used to have this old-time rule that if you had any known ancestry, guess what you were considered to be?
Black.
However, be that as it may, I'd always thought it was a white woman. To be frank, I didn't get it at first, and then, you know, I can understand somebody talking about it as racist, but to me, we're on some very thin ice here because you have to understand this parable. What is it? What goes around comes around.
Yes, sir.
Sauce for the goose, sauce for the gander, and I just happened to have checked out the comedy channel, you know, for the last several nights. Just caught it, and some of the stuff black comedians say about white folks, I can see that being shoved right down their throats. Or some of the stuff that, you know, we use Twitter, and you've seen some of that stuff, some of the people put on there who are trying to be, you know, resurrect the concept of being a militant black.
Right.
It looks kind of quaint to me because it sounds like 1967 or 66 when they were just getting fired up with that. And sort of been there, seen that, done that, heard that, and moved on. But some people want to act like, you know, they're going to try to revise and not miss out on getting the opportunity to be militant. And some of the things they say are a lot more inflammatory than what Roseanne Barr came out and said.
Yeah.
I mean, they use all sorts of negative inferences against white folk. That's their business. But be careful if you get to cheering too much and see, you have to look at what is another possibility. She was a Trump supporter, and a lot of the media can't stand Trump.
Yeah.
And they might be willing to sacrifice her, a white woman, in order to start coming down on some of what, let's say, some of the more extreme posters on Twitter that are on the black side are putting out there. I ran into it myself. I said something like, much respect and service is appreciated to all of the veterans, those who made a supreme sacrifice when young, those who passed on in old age, who, you know, defended the republic, you know, exemplifying the land of the, home of the brave thing. And I got some very negative responses from some that want to be militants, talking about what's wrong with me. Some dude said, I wish I was there, Joey. I'd strong arm you, old granddad, you know, for putting something out like that. And quite frankly, what I tweeted back was, look, if I were you, I'd be careful. You might have an old man kicking your ass, you know. Show some respect for your elders. And then this fool wanted to badmouth Thurgood Marshall, and I put him down for that. One or two people came up in support, and he wanted to talk about them, you know, and was like, where in the hell is he going? Oh, there are a lot of black folk that are vets. They, you know, they learned the art of war, so to speak. So even if nothing else, they were warriors at one time, a lot of them. So pat them on the back. You know, this isn't a Vietnam thing. So we've got a lot of stuff out there. Some of the language that was exchanged a lot worse than what Roseanne Barr was doing. So I was just saying, you know, this is going to get a mess. I saw a thing that I did consider quite racist. There was a case in there where somebody that was one of these neo-skinhead Nazi types put in there using the N-word, and some sister set him out, called him a redneck racist, and Twitter suspended her tweets for a week. Wow. And just told this guy to take his down. See, so we depend on these means of media communications, but we unfortunately don't have the infrastructure to operate them at their core. So we run the risk of getting shut off on that type of communication. I'm not saying back off. It's just don't start gloating, because I have a sneaking suspicion the Roseanne Barr thing was just a setup.
Mm-hmm.
He's a sacrificial lamb.
Yeah, so should we be about censorship, or should we protect freedom of expression or free speech?
Well, I don't like censorship.
Mm-hmm.
I think the country is getting too damn thin-skinned anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen college kids come whining to me about something. I said, well, if you're that offended, why don't you just bust the dude in his mouth?
Mm-hmm.
I said, you just sound like a punk. Teacher, he called me a bad word, What's wrong with you? Is that offensive? Go take some action. I didn't say that, but you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm saying. But we whine about everything. It came to mind, there was this thing where they had this Black History Week, so the BSU at this particular Ivy League school wanted a black venue. So they had some Southern white guys that were there, and they put together a Southern menu. They had watermelon, red soda water, barbecue, fried chicken.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. And these bourgeoisie little Negroettes were all upset because they did that.
Okay.
Like, what the hell, fool? That's what they do.
Right.
So when you getting upset, they weren't trying to cast a slur on you. They just asked.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of like you want to talk about white folk, go ahead and talk about them. They want to talk about us, go ahead and talk about us. You got the First Amendment. Be strong. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Put it back. Everybody wants to see. I kind of like Trump for that.
Mm-hmm.
Changing the paradigm. For the last 30 or 40 years, every time somebody says something about somebody that's true, the next day they have all of these profuse apologies because they offended somebody. No. Tell them, you son of a bitch, to hell with you. You're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And you're full of it. Somebody needs to be able to do that, because a lot of folk need to be told that. But I don't like it when somebody's ears are too delicate.
Yeah. And
the other problem we have, man, is we get on the radio, on television, in the movies, and we get to using the N-word like, it's like air. Let's breathe air,
Mm-hmm.
So what do you expect?
I mean, I keep on thinking about when you said all that. I'm thinking about, could Lenny Bruce exist in a world like this? Could somebody like Lenny Bruce be saying the stuff he was saying 50, 60 years ago? Would he have any type of career? That was arresting him back in the day, but would he be able to exist at all in a climate like this?
He came through UCLA and spoke.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what he said then would be, typical comedy routine now. No big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have to deal with this. I was looking at something that we're talking about Harry Truman the other day on the History Channel.
Mm-hmm.
And Harry Truman's daughter was a singer.
Mm-hmm.
So she gave this concert, and a critic badmouthed her. So Truman called him up from the White House and told him he was going to come over there and kick his ass.
Right.
Talking about his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And the Secret Service should take him over there, and he's at the front door, bring your ass out here. And that's why they call him Give Him Hell Harry. He said, you can go straight to hell. I don't give a damn. You talk like that.
Mm-hmm.
it's a matter of perspective. Speaking of which, I don't have any problems with Harry Truman. He's the one that signed Executive Order 1981 that integrated the armed services.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of interesting what he did. He had this report on his desk. It was 1947. And the 332nd, that's the Red Tails, the Tuskegee Airmen, had just won the second national fighter competition for the Air Force in Reno, outside of Reno.
Mm-hmm.
They won it in 46. So he's got all these generals in there begging him not to sign this because they said that the Negroes didn't have what it took. And he says, well, then how the hell did these Negroes whip your butts for the second year running? So he found out that they wouldn't even invite the black pilots inside the hotel where they were giving out the awards in Reno. So he invited all of them to the White House.
Wow.
And then another thing he did, just talking about background on stuff, he was the first president ever to address a meeting of the NAACP. And he called a meeting in D.C., and he was behind in the polls, and he told everybody, he said he saw no reason, no earthly reason why anyone, whatever their race was, should be treated differently than anybody else, and he was going to do every damn thing he could to change that. So they thought he was going to lose. He was running 20-some points behind in the polls before the election.
Mm-hmm.
They even had newspapers out on the East Coast claiming he had been slaughtered in the election, but it turned out he won.
Oh, yeah. Against Thomas Dewey, right?
Yeah, against Thomas Dewey, who was the New York mayor, made a good name for himself as this muckraking prosecutor. And by the way, I reiterate my statement. I do not trust career prosecutors 2 feet.
Right.
They have been too much into wielding too much power, and power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So they're somewhere between absolutely corrupted and just corrupted.
Yeah. I mean, he failed. I mean, I guess he run twice for President Thomas Dewey.
Yeah, he did.
And he lost twice. So I guess there is a lesson to be learned.
Yeah, but we've got people on the national level that are shuffling around trying to position themselves to run for president in 2020. One of them's Kamala Harris out of California.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not too happy with something that on her watch she was responsible for. Somebody embezzled $12.5 million from a number of celebrities and athletes, including myself. And it took her lazy office about 4 years, to get around to prosecuting the person. And then they gave them, for embezzling $12.5 million, they got 5 years with 4.5 years suspended. They were supposed to serve 6 months and make restitution of $250,000 on $12.5 million. And what happened is the defendant wound up sitting on a bench outside of intake for 5.5 hours and told to go home, and that's all they had to do for $12.5 million. That was on her watch. And then when she became California Attorney General, there were too many hotshot, important types that should have been prosecuted that didn't, who made campaign contributions when she decided she was going to run for U.S. Senator. So I don't like that. That's not good, but I just put that out there because I can see there being a big mess behind that coming up.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway,
I gotta ask you about what's going on in Georgia with the Stacey Abrams. She won a primary. She might quite possibly become the first black woman governor of any state in the union. Do you know anything about her?
I don't. And my opinion right now is considering the state of affairs, we need some manhood running some things. I'm sorry to say that, particularly in our community. You look at the 20-year anniversary of the Black Million Man March, and you don't see any black men. You know, Black Lives Matter. It's 3 black lesbians formed that. You have, and it's a dodge for LGBT, or what do they call it? GLAAD, GLAAD.
Mm-hmm.
See, you have all of this going on, and it's just bad ideation for all of these young males who need a boost to be men. There's nothing there. They see everything run by women, and that's very poisonous for our communities, which is why we have so much hell in the inner cities. There's no paternalism there, no masculinity, no man training, no socialization and acculturation to be men, and the imagery they have is bad. Speaking of which, GLAAD, GLAAD, is demanding that the studios show that 50% of all superheroes in all of these Marvel films be depicted as gay.
Mm.
And they've done that with this one sneakily. I mean, it's their business to do what they want to do, and more power to them if they get the means of propaganda, which they have. But this Deadpool thing, they're running around congratulating each other for having the first gay superhero and the first lesbian superhero to make it big on film, Wonder Woman. So they want 50% of all superheroes remade into gay.
I know. Yeah,
I don't know about you, but I don't think 50% of the population is that way. It's their business, but,
Well, not yet anyway, the way things are going. All this programming and the other stuff they're doing, that we're not aware of because we're too busy trying to figure out when Drake gonna go off on Pusha T, the rapper beef, and you got all the NBA finals. Is LeBron better than Michael Jordan? Who's the greatest? And all this crap that don't really matter at the end of the day because, like you said,
that's bread and circuses.
Exactly.
Well, circuses were the gladiatorial contests and entertainments that they had. So we're more in the entertainments in modern day gladiatorial contests than we are into reality.
Let me ask you this. I got to ask you this because I think it's fascinating with the NFL say they're going to find players who kneel during the anthem. I mean, they're actually going to find players who, trying to express themselves in a peaceful protest. I mean, what are your thoughts about the NFL going that route?
You to be courageous and go tell everybody to go to hell and go do it anyway. Take the fine. And by the way, the overwhelming majority of the players in the NFL are black. Now, if you got to get rid of 3/4 of your team or 2/3 of your team, what's that going to do?
That's true, but also I'm thinking of the fact that a lot of these players, they end up broke after 5 years after retirement.
But how are you going to have an NFL season if you're getting rid of 2/3 of your players? They aren't into this conditioning to go both ways like they used to 60 years ago.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't think that's the thing. Like Kaepernick, you had a few players that participated, but like Kaepernick, a lot of them guys end up getting blackballed too. They're the ones who participated.
Well, I mean, that's what makes it a hero. If you don't sacrifice anything, you haven't sacrificed anything.
I hear what you're saying, Judge. Well,
I admired. We need to back up the young brothers, but I can't get people to. Man, I got to get the game. Why are you looking at it, man? I want to see what happens, man. I said, I said, as a matter of fact, it looks like only the Jets are going to back the players up.
That's what I'm going to say. Yeah. Yeah, but why did the owners just say we ain't gonna do this? They got it right. I mean, Jackie Robinson never saluted the flag or stood for the anthem, and he's still a hero. He's still an American hero. He was a veteran and all that stuff. He stood up in the Army against racism and discrimination.
Court martial.
Yeah, and he beat it.
But he turned in his resignation. See, he had a hurt ankle from playing football, and he had gone through ROTC, so he waived that injury as a 4F injury. And since it would be an officer, it didn't matter. But when they court-martialed him, he said, screw you, I waive it. I revoke my waiver. So
right.
He resigned. That's how he got in the ball. He wasn't even a baseball player. He'd never played baseball, as a matter of fact. He was a football player and ran track. He was just a natural-born athlete.
That's something.
That's like Don Barksdale, who was on the same UCLA football team. He was wide receiver. He ran the high hurdles and he played football, but he was the first brother that got hired in NBA. The Lakers hired him. And then the quarterback on that same team was a guy named Kenny Washington at UCLA. The Rams hired him, but they made him a halfback who would occasionally pass, and UCLA chickened out back in the 30s when white folk claimed they didn't want to have a black quarterback, so UCLA started calling their quarterback the tailback, and it's stuck ever since.
Wow. What I actually did, I like there's so much stuff going on, but I just like the black folks, our collective emotional state. Like, getting back to Roseanne, the Roseanne Barr thing, you know, they're saying that the person who's over the entertainment part of ABC is a black woman named, her last name Dungy. And they give her credit for firing Roseanne. She's the one that hired, you know, that okayed the show to come back on the air. And they're giving her the credit that she was the one that got rid of Roseanne. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't believe she's running anything. I don't believe she's running anything. Because if that's the case, they would let Bill Cosby have a network.
She's not. She's not. See, it's a game they run. And see, black folk out in Hollywood need to understand that they'll prop them up, and give everybody the impression that nobody breaks the code of silence. And they're really jacking them around. They're stealing their money, embezzling the money that's due and owed to black folk in that industry they use for other stuff. I'm still angry because so much of what CBS was supposed to pay me got bundled off to Paramount, also under Viacom, to finance these Tom Cruise Mission Impossible movies.
Wow. Like that, man. It's like, these folks right there.
It's what it is.
So it's like an illusion. Everything is like an illusion then. It's like a mirage.
An illusion. They're going to go after everybody. Denzel,
I got to ask you about that.
They're going after everybody, see, because like what they went after Morgan Freeman for. I've seen Morgan Freeman. I'm sit next to him on an airplane. You know, he's 80 years old. Right. You know what? Let me explain what they're complaining about.
Okay.
Ever been to a family union down in Mississippi, Arkansas, Georgia, or something, or Tennessee, and one of the grandparents or something said, "My goodness, Anna, come here and look at this girl. Would you believe?" You know, right. That's what he was doing. He's been joking like that for years, and nobody complains about it until they get these little lesbians running around that don't like it.
Right.
And if you look how they act, they're all touchy and feely. There's a fad out there that they have. They walk up behind a strange woman they don't even know, and they start running their fingers through her hair to make an introduction. You two, that's your girlfriend? No, I'm just trying to meet her. Well, you put your hands up and run it all through her hair? You know, what is that?
Wow.
See, it's hypocritical. Women lay their hands on a guy's arm. Oh, my God, let me tell you about something. Or they put their hands on the shoulder. Or they reach over without invitation and straighten your tie up. Men don't object to that stuff. You know, they pat you on the cheek. You know, they'll come up and stroke your head or something. Or they'll pat you on the ear. Or they'll come up and nudge you. And they're always doing this kissy thing out there, but they object to a black man just acting like granddad or great uncle or uncle does at a family reunion. He hasn't been accused of sleeping with anybody.
Right.
You know, it's just, girl, look at you. And if you want to know what he was doing, just think about the last time you were at a family gathering and there were some old folk that hadn't seen you in a long time. Mm-hmm. That's what was going on, and that's what they're hollering about.
Yep, I mean, it's like what they talk about, like the CNN reporter said that he said something inappropriate, but he was doing like a press event for a movie release. Ain't like he was doing it in the dark. If he thought it was inappropriate, why would he say it out in public? Well, people actually recorded what he said. Or part of what he said.
Now, look at what, on the other hand, Ellen DeGeneres, can't remember what her name is.
You say degenerate?
Yeah, I don't like her. They asked her to do a guest appearance on her show, and she had a zero personality. And I got up, and they had to bring me back because I just walked out of there. I was trying to do something for her to help her bring her ratings up and request the KNBC4 out of New York. But in any way, they got her up there. There was this fine white female actor, and she had a low-cut top, so they've got Ellen DeGeneres sitting there staring down at her boobs and saying, when you going to let the balloons out to play? Now,
she told her that? Wow.
Say that, you know, because I guess it's lesbian, but if a man said it, they'd all have a stroke.
Yeah, like, if a man even thought that, you have a stroke.
Yeah, James Caan, the guy that played Sonny in The Godfather, that got wiped out at the phone booth, he said, I resent them trying to get on Morgan Freeman for acting like a man is supposed to act and appreciating beauty.
Yeah, I'm surprised he said that because I don't hear too many white celebrities going for people like.
Yeah, well, James Caan, you notice he isn't working a lot lately. He's one of the few great people in Hollywood. You know, one of the few non-gay ones that are up in there.
Right.
Then, too, to show you the context for this, I like to watch Formula One racing, okay, Grand Prix racing. And for 45, well, longer than that, for almost 60 years, they've had a tradition. Well, more than 60 years, they've had a tradition of what they call grid girls. In other words, women from that particular culture dress up in their culture's costumes or like they're in a beauty contest, depending upon where they have it. And they do what the ring girls do in a prize fight. You know, they hold up the signs as this is driver so-and-so for Ferrari or Maserati or, you know, Lotus or Mercedes, whatever it is. So last year, an American media company bought out for one. So the first thing they did is ban grid girls. They were saying it was objectifying women. Well, what the hell? From time immemorial, there's been an appreciation of beautiful women. Yeah. What are we supposed to do? Forget human nature? So when they had the race in Monte Carlo this weekend, Monte Carlo said, you can go to hell. We're putting some pretty women out there.
All right.
Lewis Hamilton, the brother that's current champion and leading in the championship points now, said, thank God, you know, we got beautiful women. His challenger, who was runner-up last year and running up this year, a German guy named Vettel, he said, thank God, beautiful women. We appreciate beautiful women.
That's right.
So what did the media do? They wanted to exploit children. They got little 9- and 8-year-old kids look like frightened deer caught in the headlights of an oncoming car too scared to move. So why in the devil do we need kids out there to exploit them? See, that's what's so sick about this thing. It's like you want to get offended because healthy, straight men appreciate the beauty of women, and a lot of beautiful women like the idea of being appreciated. They don't. Nobody's bending their arm about doing this. And you've got a lot of ugly women that don't like it, so they're talking about objectifying female beauty. Yeah, they do. Just like, you know, we don't all look like Denzel, you know.
Right. But wait, what about the Morgan Freeman thing? I know people see like the misinformation that's out there, or like you in the age of information where anything is available that you want to know at your fingertips. But like people keep on saying, I look at my timeline, my social media, you know, Morgan Freeman, he dated his step granddaughter, you know, and he said that's not true, and she said it wasn't true. She's dead now.
It's just slander.
Yeah.
They do that. That's the one thing they try to do. They want to badmouth black folk. And then Fox, I'll give them this, they did an expose on the CNN female reporter that was going around trying to drum up complaints against Morgan Freeman, and several of the people that she approached came on Fox and gave statements. They said she asked us, you know, if you got a problem with certain people, you know, acting inappropriately. One woman said, I said yes, But then I got to thinking, I said, who are you talking about? So when I finally drug it out of her, I said, I don't have a complaint against him. I thought you were talking about so-and-so. And then several of them said, yeah, that's who I thought they were talking about, so-and-so, not Morgan Freeman.
You know, I saw the article.
The rest of the media doesn't want to run with that. I guess they want a crucifixion effort. And then you've got these women tweeting. You can read their tweets. They say they don't care if a man is falsely accused. They don't care if his career is wrecked, if it advances the cause.
Okay. But, the judge, what's interesting about that article she wrote, the CNN reporter, she used a lot of anonymous sources. So you said people actually stepped forward and told the truth about how she manipulated what she was trying to get out of them?
Yes.
So but they don't get no type of play, though. I'll hear about Morgan Freeman losing his visa endorsements and everything without any due process.
Fox, carried it, but the rest of them won't.
I mean, it's fascinating. It's like a lynch mob mentality in the country.
Fox has fewer of the LGBTQ crowd operating it than the other entities do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's okay if they want to be LGBTQ or GLAAD, GLAAD, that's their business.
Right.
The rest of us are still out there, and there are more of us. So it's like what we're getting is a classic case of tyranny of the majority, or in this case, tyranny of the majority in a limited field. They control the media. See, a lot of what you get is slanted. If you step back and take a long look at it and you look at the patterns, it's slanted for a specific propaganda purpose, and it's to destroy masculinity. And the problem with destroying masculinity is, masculinity is that set of protocols that causes the apex predator on the planet to be taught, cultivated, and socialized in controlling his violent abilities.
Mm.
Just think about it. All of these punk asses who've never had a fight with a bully. And nowadays, oh my God, we need to do something to stop bullying. And we'll teach the kid to fight so he can bust a fool in his mouth.
Mm.
Oh my God, it's up to the parents and the police and the schools, not the children. Oh, it's up to the kids. If you haven't taken on a bully in your life, you aren't anything worth crap for a man.
Mm-hmm.
Might get your behind beat, but you had the nerve to stand up.
All right.
And see, that's part of the problem. And if you look at every one of these psychos that's gone postal, either outside of a restaurant like down in Oklahoma or in a school hallway, they all have problems with being bullied. And then you got that thing about guns. Look what the devil just happened in Belgium. One of the tightest set of gun laws on the planet. And look, somebody just went off and shot 2 female cops and wounded a third and killed somebody the night before with a claw hammer.
Wow.
And then you got this thing down in Oklahoma City last week. Some fool went crazy outside of a restaurant down on a dead end. He's standing outside shooting the place up. 2 independent citizens who were armed, didn't know each other, stopped and gunned the fool down and kept more than 4 people from getting hurt.
Mm. Wow.
But it's that unmasculine thing, these little beta boys who are scared of everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but why is there's a certain type of person doing these mass shootings, the angry white male or young white male, and I don't like how they portray the narrative.
It isn't just the angry white male. So we got to get to the bottom of it. How safe is it to walk through our neighborhoods at night?
That's a good. Well, if you look at the statistics, Memphis, for example, is top 3 or top 2, depending on who's doing the stats. But my thing about that is a lot of that is because it's systemic engineering. They engineer poverty in Memphis and places like Memphis.
Yeah, but it ain't poverty.
What is it?
Poverty isn't why all that goes on.
What is it?
It's like, for example, some made men in the mafia I've heard them make some statements.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody does that where they live.
Mm-hmm.
The mafia doesn't allow people to go around robbing old folk and raping young girls and that kind of thing. They don't allow it. They'll go kill them.
Mm.
You know, at one point when there were men controlling the neighborhoods, that crime didn't go on because you didn't need police. The men bestowed the order on the community.
Right.
Now you don't have the men.
Yeah.
It's not safe for the women and children. And the problem is the female children are raising children before they get grown. And half of them don't have good sense. And then I get really messed up about this thing about the most important function that a person can have, in one sense, is being a parent, but they want to make women feel like something's wrong with them if they take pride in being mothers. And what some of them want to do is something else that gets in the way of being mothers. And then they want to tell us, well, we have no choice. Well, keep your legs closed.
Right.
Or take some birth control. You have plenty of control over the situation.
Yeah, I was thinking about my mind goes back to how we get to this point where, you know, single parenthood is the normal. Or like people celebrate this myth of the independent woman. I don't believe nobody's independent. We all, we all interdependent. We all need communities and villages and support systems. So we're not really independent. But I'm saying, like, we go, well, even like in politics, like, you know, we don't need a man. You know, like the man is not wanted in the educational institutions. Like, a man is not. We can't listen to a man. You know, what is all this coming from? Where I mean, I'm particularly talking about black people. Like the lack of respect for black men, or a black man perceived there's no place for them.
That's the start.
Mm-hmm.
See, slavery didn't work but for the complicity of the black woman, and the deal was as you had the black woman make her children slaves for the slave master. He didn't have to do it. It's like he took over what mama had made, and part of what she was taught to do was put the black man in his place, so he wasn't a man. Emasculate him. Right. That got passed down from mother to daughter to granddaughter.
To this day.
Great-granddaughter.
Yes, sir.
Great-granddaughter to great-great-great-great-great-granddaughter. And what they are foolish about is they don't understand that until respect of their men gets to be of paramount importance to somebody, they get no respect.
Mm-hmm.
See, one of the things that always gets me is this type of female that hollers about men never let women talk. Well, if you say that, you don't deserve to talk, because if you had something worth listening to, you'd go ahead and say it instead of complaining about somebody not letting you speak.
I definitely agree with that, Judge.
Some kind of overgrown child.
Yes, sir.
Got something, say it. I've heard women sit there and complain about not being allowed to speak for 10 whole minutes. Well, will you go ahead and say what it is you wanted to say? Well, that's what I wanted to say. So you wanted to take 10 minutes complaining about you weren't allowed to speak. Yes. Well, what the hell did you just do? Nothing.
Right.
If you had anything to say, you could have said it in 10 minutes. We're listening.
Well, and it's found that, like, when some women do say that, then you got women that just talk over you. They don't respect nothing you got to say. They just say what they want to say.
I noticed that. It's like I used to have on that show, I had a problem with that because these Hollywood types would tell these people to talk over them, and I'd hear them, and I say, if you do that again, your ass is fired. So don't encourage them to do that, and this gets no damn where. This isn't manly, and this isn't orderly. You say what you got to say, then you reply. And then you can come back to rebut it. And then if I have questions, I'll ask. All of this talking over everybody, you know, nobody gets anywhere.
Right.
But that's what God does do. Well, you know, lady, if you'd let him finish with what he's got to say, we might get somewhere. I can't recall him having said 5 words without you interrupting.
Wow.
I'm sorry. You put your case in 5 words or less then. He's wrong. That's not going to cut it.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it also, I noticed, like, as far as this is on, like, personal relationship levels, I have, you know, met pretty women and beautiful women, but their personality is kind of flawed because they keep on thinking that everybody's out to get them. Like, I'll try to talk to a woman and she'll be talking for a whole hour just having a conversation with herself. Not even interested in my point of view or my thoughts or who I am, but just every time you talk to them, it's all about them. And then they blame everybody else for being alone, or being by themselves, not being able to find anybody because they broken, quote unquote.
Well, let me tell you something about that.
Okay.
I've found that it's easier to talk to pretty women than plain women.
Mm-hmm.
The really pretty ones, they actually look at themselves in the mirror and they are their own worst critics.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with the eyebrows plucked right, with the lipstick on right, is this matching, this kind of thing. And see, they get these self-esteem problems. And the other thing is the really pretty ones are used to a lot of guys being afraid of them, so they don't talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always found it easier to talk to the really pretty ones than the plain ones, because the really pretty ones are insecure.
Mm-hmm.
Because they self-evaluate. I'm talking about the really fine.
Right.
And, you know, a lot of people have inner beauty. It's like everybody can't be an NFL All-Pro nor an NBA All-Pro or All-Star basketball player or, you know, an All-Star baseball player.
Mm-hmm.
We can't all do that, but we can do what we do.
Right.
Those thin, slight guys who have got as much in the way of cojones as anybody else. And if some stuff hit the fan, you'd want them on your side. I know some out-of-shape folk that you can count on. See, the main thing we don't understand as a people is that this manhood thing that the feminists on the white side are trying to get in league with black women to destroy is all about this. If you've got proven men and something's going on, you can say, hey, man, you, and you, come on, we got something to take care of. And everybody gets up and you can count on them being able to stand and deliver without turning around and running.
No, and that's interesting. I was thinking about that. My mind went to the Doug Jones thing when he won for U.S. Senate against Roy Moore. And the media kept on giving all this credit to the black women, but it was a lot of black men that showed up at the polls and brought folks to the polls as well too.
See, like they see, it's like, okay, if you have an iPhone, okay, type in judge and see what emblem, what little what do they call it, emoji pops up. It's female. Type in captain and it'll be a female airline pilot.
Wow.
Type in cop and it'll be a female cop. See, it's subtle brainwashing. And see, a lot of the little nerds and dorks to get into the high-tech stuff, they are beta boys, and they don't have that masculine component going, and they join in trying to, you know, diffuse the masculine paradigm. But just type it in and see what you get. See what I'm saying? Do you get this subtle propaganda? Did you try it? You there?
That's her.
Yeah, did you try typing that in?
Yeah, I tried to type it in. I'm typing it in now.
Type in Judge, and they give you Judge Judy. Hey, Judge Judy looking something.
I got a Samsung, but I see a mixture of what you're talking about, though.
Yeah. Yeah, but you get the point. It's just
I should have got a female Captain America too. I was gonna type in Captain.
yeah, ain't it interesting?
Yeah. So the thing about it is too as well. So what can we do if we are barrage? All these images are thrown at you every day. All this stuff they're doing is thrown at you every day. What can you really do to change the situation?
Well, we need to push back.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to take it. See, we can establish our own protocols and fads. The point, I don't want to badmouth the women, but they have a hard enough task being mothers and, holding families together. And they don't need any extra burdens put on their heads by females that don't like being women.
Mm-hmm.
And half of this feminist stuff is because they're angry that they've got two X's instead of an XY, but they don't want to acknowledge that to themselves.
Mm.
But you see, we need to push back, and we need to help them out because there's going to be a backlash. There's already one going on right now. That's what happened with this guy that took this van and killed these 10 people up in Toronto. It's called incel. It's males who feel they've been deprived of their rights because they can't get laid.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, society is, what with modern methodology, is basically outside of Nevada eliminated the institution of prostitution. These guys can't get any, so they're mad. So this one guy up in Toronto was so mad he killed 10 people and injured many more.
Mm-hmm.
The backlash. And the thing that bothers me about it is, good intentions aside, it isn't the girls going around shooting someplace up. It isn't the girls going out and strong-arm robbing somebody in the neighborhood. It isn't girls going postal. They might do some atrocious stuff, pour boiling grits and molasses over somebody, or pour battery acid over somebody, or cut them up with a razor, but for the most part, the ones that are terrorizing the neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
And then see some of the other ideation. You've got, Comedy Zone. What is that one they've got where the guy's talking about in the hood or something?
You said it's a comedy show?
Yeah. And they had on this week, they had a woman that was with a gang, and she was hooking up with this nerd white guy to date him, and on the first date, she wound up getting sent to jail because 5 women broke off in where she was, one of them pregnant, and jumped on her.
Mm-hmm. She
had to fight. So it's like they glamorized it, which is not something. See, why are we glamorizing dysfunction?
Mm.
Everything you see just about that we have something to do with is taking dysfunction and trying to make it seem okay.
Mm-hmm.
I heard somebody interviewing Spike Lee about his comments about Tyler Perry, and it was a black person interviewing him. And he says, well, you can't deny that Tyler Perry has many black fans, and a lot of black people just flock in to see his movies. Well, I didn't like Spike Lee's answer. The correct answer was, yeah, you know, and we got a lot of crackheads too.
Mm-hmm.
So just because we got a lot of crackheads doesn't mean crack's okay. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
And some of what we get thrown at us is mind crack.
Mm.
If we're ever going to get free, we got to start thinking like we ought to be free instead of glamorizing dysfunction. That is not cute. That's one of the things that revolutionaries and reformers all over the world discovered was necessary, is to get the subject people away from rationalizing dysfunction.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's not cute. There was some woman talking about we need to teach eubonics in school. And I'm saying, why in the devil do you want to make them even further behind by trying to teach this so you don't learn the primary lingua franca of the language that everybody in the world is using now, and you want to teach an off-brand jargon? Teach them the basic language. They need to get jobs. Nobody understands that.
Mm.
Well, it's the language. No, it's not. It's just somebody that didn't get taught the language. It's like you've got legalese, you've got police talk, you got military talk, you have medical talk. But if, you know, people that use that, they understand the basic language. If you want to get off into, hey man, it be like that, you know, that's okay. But learn the other way too.
Mm-hmm. Agree. Yeah, definitely.
I've had the experience of trying to hire some people and say, now what the hell are you talking about? Do you understand what he's saying? Well, you know, try and convey your thoughts. Oh, no, man. You know, like, hey, man, like, the thing, man, you know, like, what I'm saying, man, you know, I don't understand what you're saying. Tell me, what is your problem?